Hey guys, Brad Gilmore here. Want to give a big shout out to our title sponsor, Walker Texas Lawyer. If you or a loved one have been injured in an accident, whether that be a car, truck, motorcycle accident, or some kind of other issue, hit up Walker Texas Lawyer at 713-552-1117 or walkertexaslawyer.com.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Matthew McConaughey.
Brad Gilmore.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Chris Tucker is in the building. Chris Tucker, good morning to you.
Hey, Brad. Good morning to you. How are you?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What looking to talk to me, funny lad.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat.
Brad Gilmore! Well, the critically acclaimed production of Girl from the North Country is coming to Houston. It's going to be here at the Hobby Center April 30th through the 5th. You can get tickets at thehobbycenter.org. And joining me to talk about it is a man who plays Gene Lane. Ben Biggers joins us here today. Ben, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. You know, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit here and speak with us. Some people, this is the Houston premiere, so some Houstonians have not seen or heard Girl from the North Country. Can you tell us a little bit about what the show is?
Yeah, certainly. It's set in 1934 in Duluth, Minnesota during the Great Depression, and it follows the lives of the people who live in a boarding house in that time. And interwoven into this story is the amazing music of Bob Dylan's catalog.
Yeah, I know there's songs like People Will Know Forever Young or Like a Rolling Stone, Slow Train Coming. Those are some of the songs that people can hear. Which one of those actually Dylan records do you get amped up about to hear the reimagining of during the performance?
Oh man, that's a hard question to answer because there's so many cool reimaginings of his song. I mean, one of my personal favorites is Joker Man. It's off the album Infidels, and what Simon Hale has done to that song and how he weaves it into the story is it's pretty fulfilling to hear.
For you as an actor, how does the music inform your performance and character?
Well, something that we kept returning to in rehearsals is the scenes and the play itself is the vinegar and the songs are the honey. So, there isn't too much release. It's within the music, within the text. But then when you get to step outside that and sing Dylan's music, that's where maybe some hard characters can reveal their softer side.
Now, when it comes to Gene Lane, the character you portray in Girl from the North Country, what can you tell us about your character and your kind of role in this story?
Sure. So Gene is it's a bad couple of days when we meet Gene. He's going through some hard times. He's kind of watching his family unravel around him. He's struggling to be a writer. He's also going through a breakup, and he's numbing himself with alcohol. So things aren't looking too bright for Gene, but hopefully this reveals some of his more softer, affectionate side.
And how did you become a part of the production? What was your kind of pathway here to the show?
Sure. Well, I saw the show on Broadway. Its first preview back from COVID, which was actually really cool. Theaters had been shut down, so I got to come back and be a part of people coming back together, which was really pretty special. And so I knew the show. I loved the show. And then when I got the, agent sent me the audition, I sent in the tape. I went in person, I met the team, and then I had an interview with the director, and we were off and running.
Now, when COVID happened and before COVID, self tapes have always been a part of the audition process. Since the videotape came out, pretty much. But they're more difficult to nail than being in the room. When you're in the room with somebody, you can feel the energy, you feel the vibe. Maybe they're reading lines with you, and their inflection on the line reading changes the way that you might react to it. But when you're in a self tape, you're doing it all on your own. And talk about kind of the the thought process going through there, and how many takes do you do before you send it in?
Yeah, I'm impressed. You know that. Yes, that's a huge part of my life right now is sending in self tapes. I mean, look, have been in that mindset where you're obsessing over it and you do it 70 times, but I think it just gets worse every time. So I say I'm giving myself 3 takes. That's all I'm going to give myself. But you're right. In the room too, you can kind of show who you are, and you can, even if you're not doing a better job in person as far as acting, you can kind of, at least charm them, or, show that you're a decent human being. But yeah, the self tapes, it's a wicked spiral that you can go down. So I say 3 takes and I get out.
That's interesting you bring that up, because I'm sure too, going in the room, like you said, maybe you don't nail it 100% on that one audition that you have in the room, but it does give the directors or the producers or the other cast who might be in there an opportunity to say, oh, I could work with this guy for several months. We could get along. He might be a fun hang. Or if you come in too serious, be like, he nailed the audition, but I don't want to work with this guy.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's something you just can't show on a self-tape. So it's a give and take.
It is a give and take, and I'm sure I like the methodology there of 3 takes. Whatever I get out of that is what I get out of it. But it's also probably liberating to then go onto the stage where, in that given night, you don't have 3 takes. You have your 1 take to go out there and do it. And I know it's probably not always the same every single night. You try to have that consistency. Crowds change it, moods change it, so many things change it. Do you feel a pressure going out there, or is it more so an anxiousness to get the show started?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think in the beginning, when we first opened the show, there is maybe a little bit of a pressure to get it right because it's still so new. But after doing it for so long, I think you're just trying to stay truthful and in the moment. And you can kind of trust that, the story is being told.
Now, going out there, I know everyone's process is different, obviously. We're all different people. Do you have any certain rituals that you do before you go out? Anything that you have to do the same way to make sure you're in the right mindset for either portraying Gene Lane or just going out there and committing on stage? Do you have a certain routine that you go through?
I think coffee helps. And I drink a lot of water. I suck on some Ricolas, and I think walking onto the stage, there's a shift. But before that, I'm just trying to make sure I'm relaxed and trusting myself that I know the show, that I know what's going to happen. And I think what happens on stage, you kind of leave it on stage. And before that, you're just, you're ready to go to work.
Is it important to have a camaraderie with the rest of the cast and the crew, for that matter? Whether that be the sound people, the lighting guys, the director, everyone, the property master, everyone who makes the show possible. Is it important to have that camaraderie, or can it be surgical into where you're like, I'm just coming in and doing a job and then I'm leaving?
Well, I mean, everyone works in different ways, but I think the camaraderie is important because, not only are we doing the show together, we're on the road together. We're a crew. So I think any kind of camaraderie makes it easier to come into work. And luckily, the cast is filled with veterans, and not only veterans, but amazing people. So it definitely makes it easier to come into work with that kind of family mindset.
You said when you saw this show in the previews, you wanted to be a part of it, or it impacted you in some sort of way. And then when you got the audition, obviously you wanted to go for it. What was it about the show that appealed to you as an audience member?
Oh man, I mean, it's just like an actor's dream, this show. I mean, it is.
In what way?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's like a ton of improv in the background, no 2 shows are the same as far as that's concerned. And secondly, like the writing Connor McPherson's writing is just incredible. It's the kind of script you kind of dream about getting, especially as an actor who does musicals. Hard, real, and just, it's a period piece. It's beautifully written. So seeing it in the audience, you're just like, I want to get up there and do it. And luckily I have that opportunity.
You say it's an actor's dream. I always wanted to know this because I've heard certain actors talk about, whether it be on stage or on screen, of figuring out what your business is. Meaning, like, what am I doing with my hands as I'm talking? Or am I going from this side of the stage to that side of the stage, and the blocking of the scene? Is that something that puts a lot of thought into, or are those kind of written out in the stage directions? Like, Gene's going to move from here to here, or is it up to you to figure out, I'm going to play with my hat at this point, or adjust my jacket, or I'm going to go pick up a cup, or whatever it might be?
Right. Well, there's kind of two sides to that, where, picking up the cup, picking up the ladle, that took a lot of, that was very set direction, because there's a lot of business in the show, especially with cups and ladles and pots and pans and all that stuff. But on the other side of that, the director, Connor McPherson, really wanted us to bring ourselves to this role. So when it came to little specificities, or even itself, he kind of let us have free reign, and then peppered in his suggestions, which always made it better. So I guess there's a duality there.
When you talk about a director for a stage show, it's a lot different than when it's a director. I mean, obviously there's similarities, but there's a difference between being a director for something on film or television, because they have the opportunity in the middle of the performance to say, stop, cut, bring it back. Let's do it again. Let's reset the lights. Is the camera speeding? Let's do another take. Yeah. The director doesn't have that. They're very reliant in a live performance. So is it a lot of a prep, maybe a more than a typical amount for a stage show, especially of this size and the musicality of it? Does the director really rely on those rehearsals? Or how does, and then here's my second follow-up to that is, after the performance, is there a post-mortem where the director goes, okay, look, we need to bring this home more. I need this to be a little bit bigger, back up on that note. Is there stuff like that happens?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we, rehearsals are for finding it. And and then afterwards we would do like a note session where he would kind of, specifically address what he saw. But, we at this point in the show, we're past that. So now it's just, we all know what the show is, and we really trust the product that we're putting out there. So it's kind of in our hands now, and luckily it's in pretty good hands there.
Now, what was the spark that got you to start this journey? Like, where did it begin for you to say, I want to be an actor, whether that be on stage or screen? Where did it all begin?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I just couldn't stop talking in class, which is so funny. I'm so quiet now. I don't, but I think because I was in school, because people were making me be quiet, I couldn't shut up. I think there was something there where I was just like, I always wanted to entertain. And now that I have that outlet to entertain, I'm a very silent person now. So I definitely found my outlet for my energy.
Was there a particular show or a movie that really inspired you?
Well, let's see. I mean, the first show I did was The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn I'm from Indiana, so we did it at the Indiana Community Theater. And I did that play, and I was like, oh, I found my people. I can do this. And then as far as shows that I saw Les Miserables at a very young age, and I was just like, so blown away by how huge that production was. I was like, if I could be a part of that, it would be the best life ever.
Now, the Girl from North Country will be making its Houston premiere here at the Hobby Center. It'll be available from April the 30th to May 5th. Tickets available at thehobbycenter.org. How much note-taking do you have to do, or not even note-taking, but just thinking about who your character is and why? Because, look, anyone can learn lines, right? I mean, if we work hard enough and we memorize, we can learn our lines, and perhaps we can learn them with two people. But to make those words leap off the page, come alive, and make an audience member react emotionally takes a lot of work. It's not something that comes to anybody. It's truly, in my opinion, a gift. How much, though, do you have to think about your character? You personally think about it?
I actually think about him a lot. That's a good question. I mean, most of the thinking about the character has been done. So it's something I can just walk into now. Early in the rehearsal process, I mean, I was thinking about it incessantly. I obsessed over it, but now it's sort of, I know what's happening in each scene. I know what my character wants. I know what it's like when it relates to me, what he wants. So yeah, I think it's something I can step into, but it definitely was a long process getting there.
And do you go and talk to the costume department or anything and say, look, I know this is his look, but I feel like he might wear his shirt this way, or maybe have this kind of apparel, or maybe he walks this way. Maybe this is how he, has his certain little idiosyncrasies and the inflections on his voice. Like, how deep do you get into it?
I go pretty deep when I'm doing it, but when it comes to like costuming, I kind of relinquish to my betters. I'm like, you guys know what you're doing. I'm pretty easy that way. If an actor is doing something on stage, I just try and roll with it. I try to let that stuff go and focus on doing the best job I can in the scene.
Well, we cannot wait to see it. The girl from the North Country is going to be at the Hobby Center again at the end of April through May the 5th. And you can see Ben and the entire cast live. Go to thehobbycenter.org for tickets. Ben, really appreciate the conversation and giving us some insight onto the show and your process.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you too, man.